Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribe Star. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much. And we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Red Pill Nation Hangout, episode number 309. It's going to be another light show tonight. It's just myself and my partner in crime and the guy who actually did manage to convince Joe Biden to run in 2024 because we needed the lulls. That would be Rearson. So, Rearson, introduce yourself.
I'll do it later, not right now. Too much background noise.
All right. So yeah, Rearson's having a jolly old time. For those of you who don't know, I am at Patreon as Naroki5. I have a subscribe star as Red Pill Nation. I am at BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, MGTOW TV, Brighteon, Facebook, Minds, Gab, MeWe, MeWe, Getter, TLB Talks. No, I'm not on Reddit anymore. Yeah, no. Number of places I've disappeared to have disappeared. Actually, I am now having to seriously reconsider whether I want to go on Twitter because apparently Twitter is changing the rules now, and they're going to be, which is going to be a topic for 310, but I have to consider actually going and restarting an account at Twitter, just because the Twitter is changing the rules and they're going to be allowing things like podcast. They already allowed voice meetings and so on and so forth. Those were interesting. I haven't used that function yet. But yeah, we'll see. So the topics for tonight, and it was a really busy week last week, which is why we ended up doing two episodes. It was either do two episodes or do one really long one. I wasn't in the mood to do a long one, and I'm definitely not in the mood for a big one tonight. Neither is Rearson. But the news for this particular for 309, number one, Vice News is going bankrupt. Topic number two, Joe Biden announced his candidacy for 2024. Democratic Party won't allow debates and is censoring their opponents, at least inside the Democratic Party. Topic number three, Amber Heard, I'm quitting Hollywood. Topic number four.
Yay!
Yeah, I'll try not to. I'll try not to celebrate.
Curb your enthusiasm. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Topic number four: Coach Red Pill is rearrested in the Ukraine. That one is a bit of a surprise. Topic number five: serious protests are starting over Jordan Neely. If you don't know who Jordan Neely was, well, I will listen to the end, and we'll inform you. It's been an interesting week, and I'm not really in the mood to restate the news, restate everything. Yeah, we're not on Reddit anymore. I'm not on YouTube anymore. If you want to call me a quitter because I got sick of this just came in today on top of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
you have what the parent company Google and now you can't, if you're on Google period, like you can dislike button, has been disabled at the root source. Yeah, I'm not kidding about that one. And also, uh, YouTube, in its infinite fucking wisdom, has decided that they're going to like all of those ad blocker extensions that you have up. They are going to find they're going to actively try and disable the ad blockers on YouTube. So they're going to literally force you to watch ads.
Wow. Talk about Big Brother watching you.
Yeah. That
That's
is
what.
for that's for next week. So I'm
Yeah,
actually, I'm almost at the point.
this is a good thing actually. But we'll wait till I'll wait till next week and I'll express my
Yeah,
opinion.
we'll wait till topic zero. I mean, this is the I mean, like I mean, I there's still interesting content on YouTube. Uh, you know, but I mean, to quote when I found out about it, there's like an individual. There's a couple of people who one of the things that has been downloaded onto YouTube, and I haven't used it, but I might just give it a shot here. Is if I want feeling kind of restless one night, is they've got this system where you can play that background music, that background sound that makes you sleepy and makes you fall asleep easier. Apparently, some people use that. Um, and in the middle of doing that, they have to deal with ads. Now, one of the really annoying things when YouTube first came out with ads was the fact that they used to have ads, and this was no, they got smart, they fixed the issue, but no word of a lie. On a 5 minute music video, they used to have ads in the middle of a 5 minute music video, which is one of the reasons why the YouTube ad blocker became so popular. They smartened up and they got rid of that little function, but it took them a couple of months to figure that out. That people want to when people want to listen to music videos, they don't want to listen to an ad 2 minutes into a 3 minute music video. But you know what? They're gonna start making us watch ads again.
Hooked
Um,
on hooked on phonics worked for me.
hooked on Sonic, good for me. Hooked
and,
on
and and worked for Naruki too. But he's now Naruki 5. But that's okay. Anyway.
Hooked on Phonics, good thing. Yeah, welcome to the Hooked on Phonics guy. Welcome to the retard. I really seriously hope that you enjoyed like the massive ego rush you got for shutting down a subversive channel that had 8 whole subs in it. Was a lifetime highlight for you. And if you're listening to this, you're not listening to this on YouTube, which means that you're following me around. So I'm just gonna propose this to you. You got what you wanted. Why are you still following me around? Right? Why are you're listening to me you're listening to me on Rumble, BitChute, or Odyssey. You cannot find. I mean, I load up my content at YouTube, but I only load it up there because it makes it easy. Because basically, like the other 3 channels, it makes it easier to upload elsewhere. That's it. That's the only reason why I'm uploading content at YouTube. And I make the I and I unlist the content just long enough so that I can get uploaded elsewhere. And then I unlist it or private it. So, you know, yeah, what's your problem, dude? I leave comments open under all of my videos.
You know what it is?
What?
This is a case of Glenn Close, but not necessarily female. I'll leave it at that. Fatal attraction, fatal obsession. Close enough, really. Just how I see it.
Oh, you see, this is
There, you-
I've had offers to move.
there,
By the way,
there you go.
if you are that obsessed, I've had offers from people to sponsor me, go down to states, and even to states that are concealed carry. Just letting you know, bud. Um, finding out who I am is easy. Finding out which city I live in is easy. Finding out that, I mean, yeah, I just gonna tell you, move the fuck on. Okay? Like, if your life is so pathetic that you need to shut down a channel with 8 subs, right? You obviously don't have a lot else going on, especially if you're still listening to me now. Anyway, let's just get into topic number one. As you can clearly see, neither myself nor Rearson is really in much of. Well, actually, we are a little bit in a joking mood, but not that much into it in a joking mood. So topic number one tonight: Vice news. Now, I remember Vice when it first came out. Vice, and we were still both living in Banff when Vice came out. It used to be this glossy magazine. They used to have it up at the magazine store up at the Bachelor's Hotel.
Okay.
It was edgy. That was back in the days when Gavin McGinnis was attached to it. By the way, I wonder what Gavin McGinnis. I wonder if Gavin McGinnis is doing
I
anything on Twitter.
I haven't heard of anything from him in a long time. I mean, the last. I mean, he's been on. Well, we'll bring this topic up directly from yesterday. But last, he's been on Crowder's show from time to time, but not very much. I'm gonna look him up. You keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I haven't seen or heard anything from Gavin McGinnis in a while, and it's not like he. Hold on a second. It's not like they're able to completely bury him anymore. He's got, like he could easily make a return back to Twitter, but I have not seen him at Twitter either. Although I might surprise, probably is no big surprise that he's at Rome. But anyway, Vice used to be really edgy, and they used to do these really good documentaries on. And this is back in the days when Tim, by the way, back in the day when Tim Pool used to work with them. They used to do these really good edgy documentaries about obscure topics that I found really interesting to look at and to watch. Yeah, they always did kind of slide slightly to the left, but you gotta understand. I mean, that was generally how media operated back in those days. I didn't hold it against them or anything like that. Um, one of there was a couple of points where, I mean, well, first of all, when I really for the first time got seriously involved or became seriously aware of the issue of wokeism and how it had taken over, that's when I started noticing that Vice really had kind of lost the script. And this was back in 2013. And their whole and their whole thing had just, I mean, it had, and they just got worse. One of the biggest ones that came up, and ironically enough, it was a story that was based here out of Edmonton, and that was the slut walk back in 2015. Now, there's a guy, Mac Lamoureux, who I don't even think he was even at the event. I didn't. I was at the 2014 one, but I couldn't miss. I was not able to make the 2015 one. But Nick Redding was at the 2015 one. That was the one that Lawrence Southern showed up for. Um, and that was the one that may have. You'll notice that after Lawrence Southern, after they started really covering the slut walks, they kind of all just vanished. And
Yeah, you're right. They have.
you know, and part of it was because just how overall how they were acting. Now, one of the things that I one of the things that has stood out with me is, and this is something that I noticed with recently with Billboard Chris, the slut walk in 2014 and the one in 2015, which I wasn't at. Edmonton only had maybe 5 or 6 police officers there, and the moment, and specifically in the one in 2014, because I was actually like recording him in 2014, in the background to keep the slut walkers honest. If it looked like if there was even so much as a raised voice, and let me emphasize to you, Nick Redding was the type of guy who liked to kick a hornet's nest. So there were some individuals there that were not that were not that were not that were getting in the. But here's the thing: they had the camera was one, the cameras were there, and two, if it got bad, and I noticed this, like for instance, there was one dedicated police officer that was there and was specifically was watching Nick Redding as much to make sure. And the moment, and there, I'd say there were individuals that actually did try to do something. And here's the thing: when Billboard Chris did that event in Vancouver a few weeks ago, and there was all like, and they had stepped away to do that interview, and those transgenders went out of their way and followed him away from the crowd when he started doing that interview and started getting in his face and started really pushing in. I saw at least a dozen police officers, more including, by the way, the one that tried to pull the bullshit statement that he was the one trying to antagonize people. I saw at least a dozen police officers in the background, just basically standing there, and even one of them jumping in and saying, "Okay, well, that's it. That's enough. Everyone back off." That would have been enough to do it. They just So the Vancouver police just literally stood back and just did nothing. Um, I'm kind of bringing that up to kind of make a point. Now, Mac Lamoureux in 2015, I don't know if he was there or not. I do know that the footage that he used for that now infamous photo that Vice News used at that 2015 slut walk to basically tried to humiliate MGTOW, because there was Nick Redding was there with the sandwich board, but there was also another guy there in a cheerleader outfit. By the way, my interview with Walking Away Man is currently available at Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey if you want to go have a look at it. I am the only person that ever interviewed that guy. But Mac Lamoureux, because I asked the guy who I did the interview with Walking Away Man, and Mac Lamoureux could not even be bothered to go over. And here's the thing. And I mean, I'm actually gonna have to reconnect with the guy in order to get this footage and finally get it released. The guy with the MGTOW costume at the Slut Walk in 2015. Um, he was recording everything. He had one of those little small hidden cams stuck behind his ear. So yeah, that was interesting. So yeah, Mac Lamoureux never actually spoke to the guy. Now, when Vice News ran its story, of course, you had the usual progressive male idiots come in and start making comments. And there was one individual. Uh, this is to keep in mind, this was before Elliot Rodger had done what he had. Sorry, but this is before Alec Manassian had done what he had done in Toronto. So their move back then was to compare MGTOWs to Elliot Rodger. The only issue is that, and you can actually, I think it might even still be up on the internet. So I'm going to actually have to take a look here. Elliot Rodger had a manifesto before he did his, where he did his, before he went on his killing spree. And that manifesto, yeah, here it is, documentcloud.org, Elliot Rodger Manifesto. And they tried so desperately to try to pin Elliot Rodger to MGTOW and to men's rights. The only issue is that um, men's rights and MGTOW are never mentioned in Elliot Rodger's manifesto. This made for a very uncomfortable conversation. Sort of like, well, I pointed out to some of them because some of them were being really stupid about it. You know, uh, show me the place where Elliot Rodger mentions MGTOW in his manifesto. Um, I got one guy from New Zealand actually threatened. Yeah, his exact words to me on that Vice article were, "Yeah, why don't you come back from New Zealand and we'll settle it like men in New Zealand." I'm like, no, no. And there was another individual. Uh I had to say the same thing to him. I believe it was. This is, by the way, back in the day when places like Vice would actually allow comment threads. And I actually had to say the same thing to him 94 times before he finally shut up. He got really upset that I was doing this. And Vice News has done, and Vice News just continued to have these really dumb bullshit takes. At one point in 2017, their company was worth $5 billion. They have been aware of the concept of get woke, go broke, probably for a few years now. They were told that. I mean, it's like, yeah, you know what, you're gonna go bank. They had to do some shutdowns a couple years ago of their TV production department, and like they were, I mean, they just, the only way I could say it is that the management there must have been insane because they just kept doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. And they didn't get a different result. And right on the heels of what happened with BuzzFeed, Vice is now gone. Looking forward to a couple of other publications biting the dust. Looking forward to Kotaku going under. That would be one that I'm kind of looking forward to having bite the dust. Huffington Post, which has still been kind of manageable, is still hanging in there. There's still a few places that are kind of like hanging in there. I'm looking forward to Kotaku going down. Um, but of all of them, I think Vice is probably the one that is most tragic because they're the ones. I mean, BuzzFeed was always kind of trendy. BuzzFeed was always kind of like you kind of expected BuzzFeed to be a little bit woke, right? But Vice started out as something that was edgy and actually kind of cool and willing to stick it to the establishment. And along the way, they just completely sold out. By the way, they used to employ Tim Pool. I just thought I'd throw that in, but they completely lost the script. And as a result, you know, they're gone. They won't be missed. And I'm looking forward to when Kotaku goes under. Rearson, off to you.
I never got into Vice when it was in print. And if I would have seen Vice anywhere, I would have thought it would have been at the BPL and that magazine shop. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I would expect to see it there. I have no reference to anything at the Banff Springs unless we're talking about that convenience store that was.
Yeah, well, there was a convenience store right next to the lobby. They used to have some really decent magazines in there.
Okay, because there was the. All right. Are we talking in the roundabout?
Yeah, the one right next to the lobby, the one close to the lobby.
Okay, now close is a relative term for the size of that.
Well, okay, it was close.
It was the one that was basically. It was much closer to the Staffacon.
Yeah.
Okay, that one. All right, all right. Now I know which one you're talking about. Okay, that's fine. But no, I never got into Vice. It never once caught my attention, and that's fine. It just wasn't for me. But from what I believe I've read on Telegram, apparently everybody's favorite Nazi participating Jew collaborator, survivor, Mr. Soros, has apparently been sent to buy Vice. So they're not done yet, if that information is accurate. One way or the other, it does not affect me really all that much. And I'm not really worried. I could really care less at this point. I mean, at some point, the woke media is going to be going through some. Well, the woke media is going through financial hardships right now. Holy shit. I mean, Disney is laying off how many thousands of people? Production overall is being cut back, but from what I think I can see, the ones that they're not cutting back on, well, not too much. It's going to be everything and anything related to Star Wars at this point. So we will see. But I'm not going to go to bed losing any sleep over this bit of news. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, you're not? Oh.
No, I know.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Shocker, isn't it?
Fuck. Shocked, I say.
Shocker of shock of shockers, or shocker of shocks. No, I have less than a fuck to give. Actually, I don't even have a fuck to give. Not even one. Not even a fraction of one. I don't care. And that's all I'm going to say on this one. My friend, I'm done with this topic.
Well, I mean, I'm actually going to have to take a look and see whether George Soros is actually buying Vice. Hold on a second. You can look it up too. See what you come up with.
Yeah, give me a minute here. George Soros buying Vice Media 3 days ago.
Oh my God.
So it's the bitch that just won't die. Now, what that's going to turn into, or they still is it still business as usual? I don't know. But hey, more power to them. They got someone. They got someone big enough and dumb enough to buy into it because this is really just at the end of the day, not that it's really worth all that much, but you have as much cash as he does, and you're on your last legs, assuming he hasn't died already. They just haven't made it public yet. No, this is a perfectly good. This is exactly what I would expect from one of the people that can tell anybody, pretty much anybody around the world, what they're going to do, and they're going to do it. They're going to love it. So that's fine.
Oh wow. Oh my God. Yeah, they are. They're buying. Oh my God. Fuck.
It ain't over yet, man. You want to talk about this? Is hooked on phonics around fucking 17. My God. This this
I can't. I
this
was like,
this is the gift that keeps on giving.
well, I mean, there's only one. First of all, I gotta say, man, I am absolutely not surprised that Soros is buying Vice. Um, Keep in mind here that Vice and BlackRock, um, they don't have unlimited money. They don't, right?
Yeah, no, I know.
They can only afford to buy. They can only afford to prop up so much stuff before before the money runs out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like for instance, like I mean, BlackRock, for instance, like how much stuff has Disney like if for instance if you allow like for instance when it comes to Disney when it comes to BlackRock like how much of what is going on at Disney is going on because the people over at Disney know that BlackRock has their back. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's a speculative question on my part, but I think that's a legit speculative question.
Yeah.
Like how much, like how, like, you know, like the reason why Vice kept going is because the people who were involved in it knew that, the money, oh, it's somebody else's money. It's somebody else's there. Raging Golden Eagle said this years ago about it because this is going to eventually catch up with Google. This is eventually going to catch up with it is I suspect when we get to next week and we're doing 310 um you know we're going to see this specifically around BlackRock and how they're supporting Google and whatever the you know death by a thousand cuts, right? Like these individuals don't don't want to don't want to take financial aren't taking financial responsibility for their actions. They're making shitty movies because they can. Because at the end of the day, they're making these shitty movies. They're inserting these social messages and whatnot into their movies because they, even though they're not selling, it is pushing the message, even though it's losing, and even though they have BlackRock under, and because they have BlackRock, for instance, in the case of Disney, they got BlackRock underwriting them, right? Um, that is the only outstanding reason why I think George Soros would have wanted to have wants to buy Vice. It's not that Vice is a moneymaker anymore because it's not a moneymaker anymore. it hasn't been a money maker for a few years now. It used to have its value in the billions, and they have been caught lying so much, so often, so frequently that, I mean, at this point, Vice and HuffPost and all of these publications are a joke, right? And they need, even though Vice has rapidly lost any legitimacy that it had, I mean, people like Soros need to have Vice out there pushing the message, even if it's at a reduced level, because it keeps it they need it, right? Otherwise, what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to start up another. It's easier to buy Vice than it would be to start to basically to have see both Vice and BuzzFeed fold and have to start up a new woke publication or buy another product and start up from fresh. So it's easier to just buy Vice and artificially prop it up as opposed to letting both Vice and BuzzFeed die and have no way to have the globalist propaganda be out there. That's just my bet. Anyway, if you want to add something, go ahead. Otherwise, we're gonna move on to the next topic.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you're saying on that one. I mean, yes, logistically, capital has been allocated not just to buy it, but also to keep it going in the hopes that it'll be, as you said, a propaganda piece, and maybe somebody will listen to it this time. That sort of thing will probably be the rationale behind whatever it is that they're going to be doing now. So that's fine. Again, this is no skin off of my back in any way, shape, or form, because I'm not a media person. Not that much anyway. So, okay, let's wrap this stinky one up and and put it away wet. Let's leave it out to dry in the
Woohoo! Yay! Okay, all right, we're
in the
we're
hot
done.
in the hot desert sun. They go rancid. Okay, next.
All right, so topic number 2, and I'm absolutely stunned because, I mean, even when Joe Biden, Joe Biden announced that he is going to run. We kind of saw this coming because when Joe Biden was asked about this a few months ago, he was getting defensive and getting angry about it. Joe Biden has announced that he is going to be running, and I had this. This tells me how bad the situation has gotten for them. That he's going to be running for president in 2024, and the Democrat Party and the MSM, which we were just talking about when we were talking about Vice News. Two things have already come up, and just hold on a second. Two things have come up. One, the mainstream media is already censoring his opponents, specifically Robert F. Kennedy Jr. From they're basically doing the same thing with Robert F. Kennedy that the Republicans were doing with Ron Paul. Already, we're what less than 18 months out. They're already, and when we get to topic number 5, we'll see what that is about. They're already starting to play the race card already, and yeah, that's another bad sign. And last but not least, and even Cenk Uygur over at the Young Turks was shocked at this one. The Democrat Party is not going to be holding debates for their leadership run in 2024.
I should be surprised by that, but I'm not.
No, Biden cannot hold his own in a because the reason why they can't do this is because Biden would be intellectually Biden would be destroyed. I mean, I've listened to Robert F. Kennedy. Robert F. Kennedy is not a very charismatic guy. He's got a bit of a gravelly voice, and he's getting up there in age. Uh, and he's still, but I mean, like, you can tell when you listen to Robert F. Kennedy that there's a working brain there, right? You can because I just saw Donald. I mean, I saw the outtakes of the Donald Trump CNN town hall visit. Donald Trump is not that much younger than Joe Biden, and you can still see that Donald Trump has a working brain, right? Um, yeah, but I mean, when you consider the people, the candidates that that the Democrat Party could put forward, I mean, what else have they got? Like, the fact that they even were willing to let Biden run again tells you how bad it's gotten with the Democrat Party. Just like, for instance, I mean, we may have this for a topic for 310. The Liberal Party had their leadership convention, had their party convention just last week, and they came out with some pretty brain dead stuff, including, by the way, reinstituting now pointless vaccine mandates all over again. The whole thing is it's like, you know, the only way Biden wins is that, well, first of all, even with the establishment running block for him in the Democrat Party, uh, you know, there's still going to be fierce opposition to Biden within the Democrat Party. Though the only, I mean, I don't want to say it, but the only way Biden wins the nomination, if he wins the nomination, it will likely you're going. I'm going to go on the record. I'm just going to say it. You're going to hear stories over the next few months of various state primaries being thrown in Biden's favor. You could literally almost take that one to the bank, right? Um, the fact that they're not allowing any kind of a debate is also not going to work in Biden's favor. They can only the MSM is losing legit. Like, I mean, we were just talking about it. Vice News had to be bought by George Soros in order to stay afloat. But they're not the only mainstream media outlet that's hurting, that's losing legitimacy. Uh, if the only way Biden wins next year is if they cheat, and it's like they haven't learned their lesson. They won't learn their lesson. So, they're going to try and pull the same tricks over the next few months that they pulled on the last cycle, except this time everyone's going to be ready for it, right? Like, some of the cities have still not recovered from the riots that occurred back in 2020. And what are they going to do? They're going to riot again. There's going to be another George Floyd. Well, I mean, they're literally already starting to they are already starting to stoke up the race rhetoric with Jordan Neely. But I mean, what are they going? They got to make the blacks go out and destroy their neighborhoods again, right? That's not going to work this time. People are they're too much aware of it. Even if, for instance, like Justin Trudeau is, I suspect he may have to call another election here within the next 12 to 24 months himself, which, by the way, is why he wants so desperately to have control of the internet. Um, you know, they the only way they win is if they manage to cheat really badly, or they manage to stifle the opposition media in the U.S. to the point where basically nobody except Biden is basically running, right? That's going to be a very difficult thing to do when Tucker Carlson has just gone, and I don't know whether he's actually inked the deal with Twitter or not. But I mean, if he has, I mean, Twitter is going to be an absolute free. It's a bit of a free for all now, and I am noticing that all of the little bugs and all of those little algorithms that they had put in to Twitter, they're starting to disappear. So I mean, it's not it is. I hate having to say this, but I mean, for better, regardless of what you say about Elon Musk, Twitter is now pretty much a free speech forum. Um, and I mean, it's going to be very difficult for either Trudeau or Biden to run a successful campaign when the alt media in Silicon Valley in particular are not completely don't completely have your back anymore. So, and here's the other thing too. I mean, everyone keeps saying, well, DeSantis is going to run, DeSantis is going to run, DeSantis is going to run. I mean, DeSantis has not actually announced that he is going to run. And there's a lot of people who want to get behind DeSantis. I'd like to think that DeSantis has enough mental acuity to understand that for better or worse, the Republican Party has to get Donald Trump out of its system. So, you know, um, maybe as VP or something like that. But I mean, Carrie Lake would also be a good choice. It's not gonna matter. I mean, for sure, if he does run, he is going to have to pick a different. Hold on a second. He's going to have to pick a better VP candidate than Kamala Harris. That like Kamala Harris has got to go, but then again, right? They don't seem to be learning from their lessons. But yeah, no debates. I'm just gonna go on the record and say it right now. Various state primaries in the U.S. are going to have suspicious. In fact, probably not just one or two. Most of them are going to have very suspicious numbers when it comes to the primaries and who wins those primaries. To the point where it might actually follow them. If there's another Hunter Biden type of situation that occurs next year, the mainstream media, like even if the mainstream media has Joe Biden's back, they won't be able, like Silicon Valley won't be able to run cover for him. There's too much independent media out there, and the same thing applies with Trudeau. So, and yeah, no debates. I mean, there's only one reason why they would do that, and that's because Joe Biden wouldn't survive a debate. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Rusin.
Well, I'm going to more or less say this pretty much the same thing here. This is absolute control over a situation that they cannot let loose. Come on, man. Every little thing that we've heard Hendrick say. And complete and total jest. If it isn't Joe Biden, it would be trust the science, all that kind of stuff. I mean, but then again, I don't think it's. Excuse me. I don't think Biden's alive. I mean, the guy that we've been seeing there, if you look at his ears, is somehow magically Joe Biden's ears have gotten sewn to his head. I wish I was joking about that, but I'm not. I am of the opinion that Biden has been executed. We've got either a clone or an actor or someone wearing a mask, or it could be any and all of those possibilities. I don't know. But the individual that we see on that is being portrayed or reported on doesn't have the acuity, doesn't have the brain cells to do anything, period. I mean, if we're going to be going, we're making comparisons with Trump, Biden has not been called the dotard from North Korea. Although I think this is, well, who knows? I mean, this could all very well, this is likely to be all political theater, and I'll stress the word theater as well. I mean, when Biden had his run-up to begin with, as it was, and he was a Buttigieg, booty ass, whatever. Not Feinstein. There were like 2 or 3 candidates dropped out at the same time, literally the same day. So it was already, deals were being made, garnered, whatever the case may be. So I really have no faith in this whole fucking process. And that's fine, because it matters at the end of the day, but it's not something that you and I have any sort of control over, much like anybody else that we associate with or have fun with online. So I'll be watching this debacle as it unfolds, and I'm going to be laughing at the whole situation, because, as the saying goes, you can't make this shit up. So we'll see. We will see. I mean, I got nothing more to say on this one. Okay. Since you haven't come back.
All right. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna
Yeah.
make that simple.
I'll say one more thing. Nobody can fail upward as well as Joe Biden can when he's climbing stairs. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go on the record here for this show. End of the year, because we always do the year in review and we always do projections ahead. So we'll probably be doing this at the start of 2024. We have that episode where we project ahead to 2024 and predict what's going to happen. Here's my predictions. I'm going to go on the record and just say this right now. Multiple states being accused of throwing the Democrat primaries. You're going to see you're going to see another version of George Floyd again. You're going to see a George Floyd II. You're going to see multiple race attempts. You're going to also see, and you're probably going to see it here. They're probably going to make their moves this year. You're going to also see really, you're starting to see them try to. You're already seeing YouTube start to do this. They're already starting to ramp up the censorship. I am almost like. I mean, I will not be in the least bit surprised if my Facebook channel gets shut down, or my Facebook account gets shut down again. So I'm going to have to. I'm gonna have to make some connections to make sure that Red Pill Nation doesn't just get outright killed like it did the last time around. Yeah. You're going to see. Yeah, but it's not going to really matter very much, because I mean, everybody knows how this system works now. And they're going to be much more aware of what's going on. It's going to be, and again, right, the mainstream media has lost a lot of its legitimacy. They will have lost even more legitimacy by this time next year, right? It's not going to matter what the mainstream media does anymore because I mean, at that point, maybe not alt media will have not maybe surpassed them, but I mean, it's like attempting to control the narrative. Like they will have to make moves in both Canada and the U.S. to really severely curtail the opponents, the opponents to the establishment, because they're building up rapidly, and it's the only way they're going to be able to win is if they do. I mean, like, take for instance, like Trudeau has to have at least a couple of years between him and the trucker protest. And here's the thing about it. If you're expecting Jagmeet Singh to call a non-confidence motion, he's not going to, and I will tell you why. And I've mentioned this before. That third photo, the one where where those guys actually came out and started waving that Nazi flag on the Redo Canal, which was rather coincidentally taken in a spot where they couldn't access at that time of the year unless somebody had let them in. The first person that tweeted that photo was somebody that worked for Jagmeet Singh. Just stop and think about that if you live in Canada. Enough said. You're gonna see the race. You're gonna see them attempt to do everything to create the divisive rhetoric. They're gonna try. They're definitely gonna have to really crack down on the manosphere at that over the next few months. Because I mean, it's like long term. What's going to happen is they need the young they're going to need the young bodies to go fight the wars that they're trying to drum up between either Russia and China with in the US currently, and they're going to have to try to drum up a war of some kind because the only other option they will have will be to give up power and start making some serious reforms. So with that concludes this particular topic, and let's move on to the next one. And this one is not so surprising because I know a little bit. I don't necessarily know Amber Heard all that well, but I know a little bit about narcissistic personality disorder. Let's just give you an idea. Let's just run through this in case you've been living under a rock and you don't know who Amber Heard was. Amber Heard made a series of accusations, which later turned out to be false, about Johnny Depp being a domestic abuser. This came out in 2017. Johnny Depp, in particular, a British newspaper ran it. He first sued and by the way, this is something that's not so well known, but I think needs to be brought to the attention of various people. His case in Britain was against the newspaper and not Amber Heard. It was a very hard case to prove. It's a very hard lawsuit to prove. He lost that lawsuit, and it was later on revealed down the road that the judge who was making the final decision in that case was likely compromised. Hollywood, stupid idiots that they are, didn't look at the fine print, didn't look at the details, and immediately kicked Johnny Depp out of everything. And Johnny Depp looked like he was finished at that point. The only problem is that the actual lawsuit against Amber Heard was going to be the main case. Amber Heard was not the one that was having to face the heat in London. So they went to court in Virginia. Incidentally, one of the lawyers that Amber Heard hired, which is one of the lawyers that was heavily involved in Me Too, quit the case, which tells you all you need to know. Along the way, the reporters that were covering the case in a balanced manner, all of them received that were trying and revealing what Amber Heard was truly like as a person. Literally, all of them were getting harassed in one form or another. Some of them were literally being outright threatened. Um, the case came in, and just like with what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse, right? You know, the facts of the actual case, unless you like take 3 steps to the left, do a ballerina twirl, and cluck like a chicken. I mean, it's very clear. I mean, Johnny Depp is not a decent person by any stretch of the imagination. Johnny Depp has got his issues, and I will freely acknowledge that. But in Amber Heard is as bad, if not worse, than Johnny Depp. And in this particular case, Amber Heard tried to platform herself as a victim to basically ruin Johnny Depp's career because Johnny Depp basically had had enough of her bullshit. If this didn't this didn't work for John. This didn't work for Amber Heard. The jury ruled in Johnny, and they came back fairly quickly. And there were a number of moments in that trial where Amber Heard was made to look less than bad. The harassment though continued, and Amber Heard, at least initially, was going to go and was going to like try and appeal. Um, Obviously she doesn't have the money to do that. And here's the thing: if she had worked out a deal with Johnny Depp ahead of time, you know, it may not have been so bad, right, for her. But instead, what she did is and specifically Taylor Lawrence basically tried to run block for her. That though wasn't enough. And we actually covered this on the Red Pill Nation a couple of months back. She literally got every prominent feminist organization to sign this statement in favor of Amber Heard. And like it wasn't going to go anywhere because I mean, and I remember looking at it at the time, and there were multiple lawyers who signed that petition in support of Amber Heard. You know, and it's like if any of them had actually, and I said it at the time, if there were any of them that actually had bothered to look at the case, it would have. I mean, it's very obviously because any lawyer who looked at that case dispassionately would clearly see that Amber Heard is guilty as hell. But they signed it anyway. So she almost killed Johnny Depp because Johnny Depp is now coming back. Uh, I'm to no surprise, considering the fact that you've got the pad. I'm just going to say it. I think the guy's a fucking pedophile, James Gunn, calling the shots over at the DCCU, which was also, by the way, why Ezra Miller never faced any serious consequences for his behavior a few months back. They reduced Amber Heard's role to Aquaman apparently to a cameo, but it's not gonna matter because she's still in it, and she has done so much damage to her reputation that she's got one other movie coming out, but apparently, enough of Hollywood has wised up that nobody's offering her any parts, which is not the case with Johnny Depp anymore. So instead of just simply quietly going off and disappearing for a few years, instead she makes a big to do, plays victim again and announces, "Well, I'm quitting Hollywood. I'm the victim here." And then she basically plays victim, which, by the way, Dylan Mulvaney has been starting to do the same thing around the whole Bud Light situation. That may be a topic for 310, or it might not. But yeah, Amber Heard just openly, and the narcissistic bitch that she is, openly declared that she is leaving Hollywood. And yeah, Amber, good fucking riddance. And don't let the door hit you on the way out. But it's sort of like, no, she couldn't just quietly disappear, right? Like she had to make a big deal out of it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rearson.
Well, hopefully it will be a case of ding dong, the bitch is gone. Oh my God. Again, just like Vice, I have no fucks to give. The woman is... Well, if she is going to return to acting, since she does seem to enjoy munching on the carpet, I said it before, I'll say it again. Again, no fucks given. I'm sure there might be enough space for her within the porn industry. Assuming anyone wants to touch her, preferably covered, because you don't know where that pussy is big.
Oh, you're gonna love this. One of the photos that I'm uploading. Amber Heard escapes Hollywood and Johnny Depp's name after defamation. Oh, it's not defamation.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
When have we honestly known the media to be honest?
No.
I realized, and I was just going to say, and I realized that this is going to be one of the rhetorical questions because, simply put, at the end of the day, the media has never been honest. Like, it never is. Human nature is biased. I am, you are. We'll both admit it. But, again, this is press coverage for someone who really, as a class of people, as a class of whatever you want to call them, celebrities, by and large, do not contribute in a meaningful way to society. Like it or not, they don't. They are, in my honest opinion, insecure, socioeconomic, not sponges, fucking leeches. No, don't get me wrong. I do enjoy being entertained. But at the end of the day, these people do not really contribute all that much to society. I mean, they really don't. I mean, yeah, you've got your influencers and fucking whatever else. But what do they honestly do to make society as a whole better? They don't. They're no different than you and I, my friend. The only thing is that they get compensated. They get compensated a lot more. But I am of the opinion, and I will not change my feeling on this one. But your A-listers have to sell their soul, figuratively and I believe literally, to the devil, to be in that list, to be on that very select group. And I want, and I have no need for that. I want no part of it. And that's me being the most quickest and honest way to say it. Didn't know who she was before this whole thing. I know of her. I don't think I actively have watched anything with her in it. And if I do see something with her in it, I'm just hoping that the scenes are going to be over. They're going to be over faster than most guys last than maybe 2 minutes in the bedroom, if you take my meaning. With or without her shit in the bed. Fuck. God. And that's something that she will never be able to escape from. What are people going to remember about Amber Heard with the whole Johnny Depp thing? I think one of the top things would be like, what did she do? Oh, she shit on Johnny Depp's bed. Oh, that crazy bitch. It was something along those lines. So, for me, it's a case of butt fucking whatever. Whatever. Again, I'm not going to lose sleep over this one because there's nothing to lose sleep over. So, um, back to you, man.
Oh well,
Yeah.
gone, not be missed.
Nope.
I was looking at the story, and the story that I was just mentioning to you, and yeah, like they're trying to play her off as like as a victim, and I'm like, of course yes, to nobody's surprise, this particular article, and none of the articles that like very few people want to actual like they seem to be almost averse to admitting, and this is the sign of an absolute psychopath, right? Like she's not like I'm looking at photos of her right now, and hold on a second. You know, I'm not when I start looking at her, other than when she's acting, I'm not seeing a lot of emotional expression out of Amber Heard, right? I mean, she's either deeply, deeply narcissistic or she's an absolute psychopath. I feel sorry for her daughter because her daughter is going to have mental issues. Daughter's going to have issues because when you're raised, and I know this because I have direct experience growing up with narcissistic women. Um, you know, uh, her daughter is going to spend a good chunk of her adult life potentially having to recover from her childhood. Because, I mean, while she wasn't dragged in, and kudos to Depp, who's, by the way, not a perfect human being by any stretch of the imagination, but Depp at least had the brains to not drag the kid into it, right? And, I seriously doubt that I seriously doubt that Amber Heard did. This is just basically just a pathetic face attempt saving of for Amber Heard. And here's a really and just as another curious because like I mean, um, while I was talking to you, and by the way, taken to moving. I have taken to moving my phone away from the computer when I talk now because I've recently discovered that I've connected with some people in South Africa and in Europe they use WhatsApp over there quite frequently, and what's going on is WhatsApp will just randomly turn the phone on every once in a while. But here's the really strange part. The phone that's not connected to the net, the Siri device on this phone, on the old phone that I had, just turned on randomly on its own without me having to touch anything. Coincidence? I don't think so. Goodbye, Amber Heard, though. You won't be missed. And Hollywood, you won't be missed either. And with that, let's get into the next topic, which I think which is a really interesting topic. Because I mean, I had thought that when this guy got held by the authorities in Ukraine a few months ago, that he would have had enough brains to leave the Ukraine and get out of there. But and for a while, because like I mean, the Azov battalion was actually threatening to was actually threatening to kill him at one point. And for instance, when I actually downloading this, it's like Wikipedia: misogynist dating coach arrested. Misogynist dating coach Gonzalo Lira, AKK, that he's been arrested. I would have thought that he had enough brains to get the hell out of the Ukraine after he got arrested the first time, but he chose to stay. It should be duly noted, though, he had a wife and kids, and he was living in an apartment complex, and he wasn't actually, his wife and kids weren't living with him, so I suspect that he had enough brains uh, to at least make sure that his wife and kids were looked after. The issue was, though, is that he chose to stay, knowing full well what the Azov battalion is like. Um, he he stayed in Ukraine and can continue to do his work. Now, that is brave, or it is stupidly brave. I don't know, or brave, stupid, or stupidly brave. I'm not sure but at knowing full well what is going on there, unless I had a serious amount of protection, I would not have stayed in I would not have stayed in the Ukraine. He chose to stick around. Now, I got to point out here that I have rather mixed opinions about Gonzalo Lira, aka Coach Red Pill. Gonzalo Lira made statements from time to time that I definitely disagreed with. One of the biggest ones is that, he talked about the black pill, and he associated black pill. Oh yeah, here's the one that really stands out. Apparently he had books that were in support of Putin. Here's the thing, though: the books that they put up on display, the spines aren't even broken on them. So it's looking very much like he got set up, which wouldn't, when you're talking about a government right now that is randomly picking people off the street to go fight their wars for them, that is not a good sign. Here's again, though, Gonzalo Lira, and this is something that I actually called him out on at one point. Gonzalo Lira, aka Coach Red Pill, he was interviewed by Kezia Noble about MGTOW, and he passed himself off as some sort of an expert on MGTOW. The only problem is, though, is that, he went ahead and he said some stuff in a video later on where he's actually contradicting himself about being an expert on MGTOW, like literally comparing MGTOWs to incels, and they're not the same thing. And this has been explained to him that MGTOW and incel are not the same thing. And it's like, as it was pointed out by Jeremy Hembling, and by a couple of other people who are sort of in the same sphere that we're in, right? What Gonzalo Lira was really good at doing, and this is something that you'll notice that politicians will do quite a bit, is that they will say things confidently, even though they don't necessarily know, they're not necessarily in agreement with them, but they will say it confidently to make it look like they're correct. I yeah, he's gotten things wrong. He's gotten more than a few things wrong. Um, One of the other things he said that I particularly disagree on, and he lived in Chile and he saw what happened in Chile under Pinochet. And his response was, "Well, this is what I saw happen down in South America. So this is what's going to happen in the United States." And you know, to a certain degree, he's right. There's one critical difference, and Gonzalo Lira doesn't know that because I don't know whether he's even lived here or not, lived in the United States or not. Um, the United States is exceedingly heavily armed, and they've got constitutional protections here that they don't have in any other country on the planet. So yeah, I mean, you are seeing in particular right now the Democrats going down this road, and probably the Republicans too. The only difference is, and this is something else that I have pointed out with people who are very, very, especially Australians, right? Um, you know, like the reason why you didn't see people getting yanked off the streets and being thrown into COVID camps in the United States is because if the authorities had tried that here, I mean, the first person that would have been stupid enough to actually do that would have been filled full of lead before he got the person halfway to the truck, to the holding vehicle, right? Yeah, and it's like that's also the reason why Trudeau didn't attempt to do anything like this in Canada, and why they literally tried to go after hunting rifles a few months back, is because I mean, yeah, he can ban all the guns he wants to in Canada. The only problem is that if he tries to push it too far in Canada, there would be a bunch of gun runners down at the U.S. border that would like start shipping up guns here in a huge hurry, right? Like no matter which way, and this is something. I mean, so yeah, Gonzalo Lira says, well, no, you can try to resist what's going on, what's going to happen in the U.S., but you can't because they have control of all of the military and so on and so forth. It's like, yeah, that's true. The difference is that in Chile, in Vietnam, in Cambodia, in Nazi Germany, in well, not necessarily Spain, but in a lot of other places where they've tried this, the people didn't have the ability to actually shoot back, to hit back. Here, even in Canada, even with all the firearms restrictions they've got, they do. So yeah, that's going to, and you're clearly seeing that they're really kind of desperately trying. They're having to play a much more careful game in the U.S. to try to undermine the Constitution here. In the sorry, I keep saying here because I live in Canada, not the U.S. To try to undermine the Constitution in the U.S. Kudos to Coach Red Pill for having enough brains to not keep his wife and children in Ukraine when this was done. I think kudos to him for continuing to hang out in Ukraine after he got arrested the first time. I would have left, and I wouldn't have left because I approve of one side or the other. Well, I mean, in my particular situation, I don't approve of one side or the other. I think Putin is not a guy to be trusted either. I mean, I also happen to think that Putin in this particular case is the lesser of the two evils, despite what the mainstream media is saying. So the whole thing is I really don't know what to think. I mean, again, I have a feeling that Gonzalo Lira may well be gone. He's either gonna disappear and turn up dead somewhere, or he's gonna be gone for years now because the uh, the Ukrainians are being backed by the West at this point, and whether you like it or not, at least for the foreseeable future, this thing in the Ukraine, and it's like they've reached the point now where I don't even think Putin will deal with a negotiated settlement now, unless the Ukrainian government changes, which I don't think is going to happen, at least not immediately. Uh, yeah, I'm not going to say Coach Red Gonzalo Lira is dead, but he's definitely in deep doo doo this time because I mean those books that were displayed with him. I mean those were freshly bought books. Those were not books that were just sitting on his bookshelf and that he had gone through. Like those were freshly bought books that were displayed as that this is what he has on his bookshelf. And yeah, so that's all I got to say on that. Rearson, take it away.
I'm sorry, but again, I'm gonna have to agree with you completely on this one. I would have gotten Will the fuck out. Yes, it would be difficult with the wife, and I don't know how many kids he has. I mean, where would he go? Would he go back to Chile? Is he? He's obviously not an American citizen, so things are would be difficult. Maybe it was the best of the lack of available options. I don't look up for me. I'm just curious to know where is he? What country does he hold citizenship with?
Chile.
So he's still Chilean.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure he could have by now gotten filed refugee status for his wife and children if he really wanted to respond to them. Something could have been done. But hey, you know what? That's fine. That's fine. Far be it for me to say anything one way or the other, because well, then again, you're talking to someone who is basically in a paranoid, survivalist, semi-survivalist state of mind right now, and I'm still planning to escape over Calgary, or at least that way. So, I mean, and my departure will be with or without. I can't stress that any more than what I've just said here. It's not the greatest of things to think about, to contemplate, or to ponder on, but but that's me. That's me. I'm just in a bit of a rough spot at this point right now, and I really have myself to rely on. So I'm going to make the best of a bad decision. It's like, I mean, Ukraine, I don't think right now, I don't think you could find, I'm sure there are places that are worse. I don't know how, but in my opinion, Ukraine is probably one of the most toxic places to be on the entire planet right now. So, was it the best decision? Maybe. Like Would his wife want to leave if he could get them over to Chile? I don't know. I really don't know. Would I be surprised if he got drafted into the Ukrainian military? That would not surprise me at all. Nothing. That really would not surprise me. I'm hoping it doesn't happen because he's old, but I figure at this point, the neo-Nazis in Ukraine are going to throw every able-bodied man that they can, and the problem with be is that when they need to rebuild, assuming that they haven't completely removed too much of the male population, they'll be productive and reproductive for that matter. Yeah, whatever. I don't think Ukraine's going to last for much longer because you've got Poland and other countries out there asking for munitions and aircraft and whatnot. Countries are now basically saying, we don't have any more to give you because if we do, we're not going to really be able to defend ourselves. So this whole orchestrated matter is not going to be around for much longer, in my honest opinion. So, but again, I hope that he survives. I really do. I hope nothing bad comes to him. But it's like everything else we've seen going on here in Canada. We have no control of the matter. So we'll wait and see what his. We'll wait and see what he agreed to when he was born into the world for this period of time. And I don't really have anything more to say in terms of him with his red pill men's whatever. Before him being arrested, I didn't know who he was. I think I might have listened to him once, maybe twice, but I don't recall. So his actual content, like I said, I know of him, but am I actively going to go listen to his stuff? No, I'm not. So for me, this is not really much of a. This really is not much of an issue at all. So, and that's all I'm going to say. So back to you, man.
So yeah, this whole situation with by the way, yeah, Coach Red Pill, he has kind of been backing away from doing a lot of. He's obviously been doing he chose to stay in the Ukraine. Kudos to him for doing that. Yeah, when you do something like that, you're going to expect expect stuff to happen, right? It was, he had enough. He had enough brains at least to not to get involved in to stay, but I mean, yeah, not a good look for him in any form or fashion. The whole thing is just I don't know. I mean, if he's still alive in a few years, I will be duly surprised. The Azov battalion in a lot of you got to keep in mind, and this is what's happening in the Ukraine right now. And I mean, again, you have to push past the propaganda, because the propaganda keeps telling you that the Russians have been badly hit and that they're hurting and that they're losing the war and whatnot. And I mean, again, right, when you start actually peeling away on that, it turns out not to be true, right? Like, I mean, like you're seeing video. I'm seeing video after video after video of um of people getting of Ukrainian men getting hauled off the streets to go and fight in their army. Now, you don't do that unless you're desperately short of soldiers. You don't do that unless enough of your civilian population has figured out that this is not a enough of the men have figured out that this is not a winnable situation and have decided that it's time to, like, they're not going to sign up unless they're forced to. So, yeah, that's literally what's happening here. Like no matter, and you keep talking about this quote unquote spring offensive. I mean, if they're talking about it in the mainstream media, oh well, the Ukrainians are planning this offensive. The Ukrainians are planning this offensive. It's sort of you know, like it would be the height of stupidity to assume that the Russians don't know that the Ukrainians are going to be planning an offensive. So they're pouring in all of these money, all of these resources. The Ukrainians, hold on a second, are literally hauling people off the street to force them to fight in this war. You know, again, I'm not gonna go right out on the ledge and say that this offensive that the Ukrainians are planning is not gonna work. But you know, if they're talking about it in the mainstream media, then the chances are that there's intelligence on the Russian side that's telling them what's happening. So the Russians are preparing for this, and no independent fact checking sources, not actual quote unquote Facebook fact checkers or YouTube fact checkers or whatever. The Russians are not hurting from this war, at least not at this current time. They may have had a little bit of an issue at the start with recruitment, but I haven't heard anything else about it, which means that the situation is still manageable and they have not taken significantly heavy hits, contrary to what you may have been hearing in the news. And with that, I'm done. Let's move on to the next topic because this next one's kind of interesting. Um, okay, so New York City was one of the places is one of the blue is one of New York State is one of the blue states. New York City is seriously woke. They looked the other way when protesters literally tore the city to shreds, and they had a serious capital flight out of New York. Um, and I know that, and you know this as well, although I haven't had to take public transit in a few years now. One of the hazards of taking public transit is that every once in a while you're gonna get somebody who is that's the reason why they have transit security in almost every city that I'm in. You're going to get somebody either on the bus or on the train that is batshit crazy to the point where they become dangerous to the other passengers sitting on that car. That happened. I mean, my personal experience with this guy when I was living, and not so much here in Edmonton, although I do have one incident, which is I actually have up on my channel called On the Bus, um, which involved a woman trying to create a whole bunch of unnecessary melodrama. Um, but I mean, I was on a bus one time where an individual was so crazy and so dangerous that they had to evacuate everybody off the bus and wait for the police to arrive. before they took him away. I have been on. I've been. I was literally, it's like when I was in Vancouver one time on the SkyTrain going into work, this one guy just suddenly randomly decided to pick a fight with me. I've had random crazy people approach me on platforms, even when it was clear that I didn't want to really speak to them. I have had at least twice, I have had people potentially try. One particular occasion, these two guys followed me onto this bus and they followed me off the bus. Now, fortunately, there happened to be a store that was open across the street from where I got off the bus, and I immediately ran across the street and I called for a taxi, even though I was only 2 blocks away from where I lived. And these guys literally waited outside the 7-Eleven until the taxi got there. So, yeah, um, public transit can be dangerous. It's not dangerous all the time, but it is dangerous. And yeah, I have been on public transit when somebody gets on to a car, gets onto a bus, or gets onto the train and is literally so fucking dangerous that you have to phone the police or whatever, and you just have to hope that either you get to your stop before this guy notices you, or that the police that the transit police arrive and take this guy off the train. um we actually covered a story in the New York subway system a few months ago of one guy who literally sat beside this woman and like literally held her down, and there were multiple guys around who didn't want to intervene, and they were getting torn into for not intervening. And here's the situation with Jordan Neely. Jordan Neely was on this train and he had 47 prior arrests for um for violence. He had a current outstanding warrant for assault. And I don't know if the video is still up or not, but I literally saw a video of Jordan Neely pissing and shitting in the New York subway system. Like, this guy was insane. He was crazy. He was dangerous. I mean, he was clearly threatening people on that train. And he was also saying, "Go ahead, call the cops. I three hots and a cop won't phase me at all." So basically, he was more or less saying, "I'm going to get violent. I'm going to start threatening people on this train, and if you call the cops, it's not going to change anything, right?" Because I mean, I've done that before, right? Like, when somebody's gotten in my face one time, like I literally, like, I picked up the phone and dialed 911 right in front of the guy, and the guy left. Um, that's not what the case was. In order for somebody, there's only really realistically two choices here. Either A, Jordan Neely actually tried to assault someone on that subway and the guy had to defend himself, or B, Jordan Neely was threatening somebody on that subway and making them really uncomfortable and not backing off. And these three guys, by the way, they weren't all white. Yes, the guy who actually got him in the chokehold was white, but there was a black guy and an Hispanic guy helping him out. And by the way, one of them looked like he was potentially even concealed carry, or he may have had a weapon on him, right? The guy was restrained. He was held in a chokehold. He got held in a chokehold perhaps a little bit too long, and he died either on the subway or from his injuries. It's not clear what. The mainstream media, because we're getting close to an election, just has decided to play this up as a racist incident. It's going to be very hard to play it up as a racist incident when it was like, obviously there were not just three white guys teaming up on a black guy to calm him down. There was a black guy involved in it. He wasn't the one putting him in the chokehold. But I mean, whatever. So Alvin Bragg, this is the same guy, by the way, who has that incredibly flimsy case against Donald Trump that he's pursuing, has caved into pressure and is going to file criminal charges against this guy, which are not going to go anywhere. Because I can guarantee you there's going to be some more video evidence that's going to come out. There's going to be evidence down the road that's going to exculpate, and exonerate the guy who put him into a chokehold. They can hide the fact that he has 40, I think it's 47 previous arrests, and that he was mentally unhinged, and they can hide that. But I mean, again, like, you're seeing Rittenhouse all over again here, and you're seeing the usual people line up in the usual way, and I'm fully expecting the usual result is going to happen. At some point, they're going to arrest these three guys. They're going to throw them in jail, right? Somebody's going to put up, and they're going to make the mistake of going to that site, that GoFundMe or whatever, to put up a defense fund for him, which is going to get taken down, and then they're going to go to Give, Send, Go, right? As the case progresses along, it's going to, and people start to look at the actual evidence, it's going to look more and more and more and more and more like it was that Jordan Neely was the one that was in the wrong. And it's not gonna matter, because people are so stupid that they're just gonna believe whatever they want to believe. And this situation rather conveniently happens to help out the Democrats. So you're already starting to see protests over this.
So get on the train. Take it on the train. Bro, you hurting her right now, bro. I'm not touching you. Bro, they lynching us out here. They lynching us out here, bro. They lynching us out here, bro. They are lynching us out here, bro. They are lynching us out here. They lynching us out here, bro. Jordan Neely was from my hood, bro. I know the nigga personally. He's from my hood. Bro, niggas, you don't have to explain to niggas, my nigga. Fuck it. Don't explain to niggas, my nigga. You can't stop the revolution. You can't stop the revolution. Liberation for black people.
I don't know. There's some speculation on some parts that maybe Jordan Neely might be George Floyd Part 2. I really don't think that's the case, because in this case, yeah, you have a white guy holding a black guy in a chokehold, but the other two guys that were involved in holding this guy down were not white. And it's going to, and I mean, his criminal past. I mean, George Floyd had a criminal past too, but this guy's criminal past and the way he was behaving, um, you know, that's going to come out in the news. The other part on this that is likely also going to come out here is that you know, yeah, it's yeah, the usual suspects are all going to end up looking really bad. Various politicians are going to jump on board. The mainstream media is going to get yet more egg on their face. BLM is already getting involved in this, and it's like, yeah, we all know what's coming, right? Like they have to charge this guy, the guy who put Jordan Neely into the chokehold, with murder. They're going to try to make it first degree murder, even though that is clearly not what has happened here. At worst, it might be, at best, it might be manslaughter. Uh, so, yeah, without knowing all the facts here, I can already tell you how the path is going to go with this one. And it's being deliberately stoked by the establishment because they are really desperate for a George Floyd part two. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Rearson.
Well, I was going to say that not knowing who this person was during your rant, shall we say, I looked into it. And my expectations, which were not high to begin with, were, unfortunately, confirmed. Oh, look at that. It's another black guy getting killed by some whitey. You'll have to pardon me for being just not fucking surprised anymore, because it is actually getting to that point with me that I'm not really surprised by half the shit that's going on anymore, because I'm not. I don't know what to say. Like, I really honestly don't even know what to fucking think anymore, because this is beyond ridiculous. But predictable. Pretty fucking predictable. Again, you're not going to hear anything of white on white violence. You're not going to hear anything of black on black violence. You're not going to hear anything about black on white violence. Except if it's something extreme, like, a white woman getting killed. But again, it's white male on black male violence that is so easy to stoke up the fires of, I don't want to call them idiots, but kind of the useful idiots. I don't know how else to say it. For the people that'll fall for this. And I can guarantee you, anytime you hear about some sort of crime and nothing's mentioned about who the person is, I can pretty much guarantee you it's going to be some Muslim refugee. Yeah, I went there because they've committed it. Or the details are going to be so minimal it's not funny, but it has to be reported in some way, shape, or form. So you will have to pardon me for not believing a fucking thing that comes out of the news anymore, because I have no reason to. And anybody that has a quarter of a functional brain should basically be in the same boat that I am on this. My feelings about this. God.
Oh, I found something rather interesting about Neely, posted up by, again, Marjorie Taylor Greene is not my personal favorite individual by any stretch of the imagination.
Yep.
But here's the scuttlebutt on it. Jordan Neely, AOC's hero, 2015, sentenced to 4 months for jail for attempted kidnapping after dragging a 7-year-old child down the street. 2019, arrested for punching 64-year-old man. 2021, just a couple years ago, pleaded guilty for felony assault after randomly punching 67-year-old woman leaving the subway. She suffered a broken nose and a fractured skull.
Oh my God. All right. Well, Okay, so this guy is on the streets for a reason. I don't know if I would like to know his full background, at least as much as possible. Was he raised in a broken home? Did he have substance abuse at an early age? Was there anything in terms of what was his high school? What was his education life like? What were the teachers like? Did he get put on any sort of medications that somehow the U.S. government was paying for? And if it was, what was it? What is his history of substance abuse? Because typically, your well-adjusted people are not going to be jumping or volunteering to go live out on the street. So there is a lot about this individual that we probably don't know much about, at least not you or I. Any politician that's going to be jumping on this bandwagon, I'll agree with you on this one. I can pretty much guarantee that it is going to be anyone and everyone that's going to be blue, shall we say. Take that with a grain of salt with whoever is going to be doing all of that. And at the end of the day, I mean, it doesn't matter at this point right now anyway, but I mean, I'm curious to know what kind of character witnesses will be able to be coming forward about what he was like. Not what family and friends would say, but just, well, no, I mean, his violent streak speaks for itself, but that is if you want to see it and if you're going to actually acknowledge it. Oh boy. Oh well. But hey, it's a case of not feces, but that's might as well. This should turn into it'd be a shit show anyway. But you know, whatever it takes to keep the public enraged, to have BLM. You wouldn't talk about George Soros there. No, bring up BLM. Whatever it takes for BLM to bankroll more funds, more attention, more of their Marxist ideology, ultimately, because God, it's a mess. Just a fucking mess. But we'll see. And then when the trial does come up, it'll be interesting to see what happens with all of this, because we'll see how much they're going to be able to, well, we know how much they're going to try to whitewash the whole damn thing. How much they're going to be able to whitewash doesn't matter. So, I know that I'm not even going to have this on the back burner. I'm wondering as to what's going to happen with this guy. But what happens, happens. I have no control over it. And at the end of the day, there are more important things in my life to worry about. So, we'll see.
Anyway, yeah, I am currently downloading. I am currently downloading some videos. Off of Twitter. About this issue, and oh yeah, like some of the stuff that's being done here is just absolutely like blocking the platform. It's not gonna go just like the whole Rittenhouse thing. It's not gonna work. The facts are just not gonna work out, right? They're gonna end up with massive egg on their face, and you know it's. By all means, and by the way, I'm currently looking at the video where they're blocking the subway, and most of the protesters in the subway either have their faces blacked or they're white. Just saying.
There's not much that I remember about Malcolm X, but if there's one thing apparently he is credited of saying is that the biggest enemy of the black man, or black society, however you want to say it, this is the 60s, is the white liberal. And you know what? He's pretty fucking right. Still rings true today.
Yep, I'm looking at another photo right now. Most of the people down below are at least half the crowd is white. No word of a lie.
Well, all things being equal, fucking white guilt seems to be almost a national pastime for middle class America, or at least for the leftists. Well, no, white guilt is a pastime for the left wing part of white society. So now we'll see how well that works.
Anyway, I'm gonna go because there's a photo of him. There's a video of him shitting like literally taking a shit on the subway. And of course, the full video is also going to be done. But anyway, I think that's probably it for tonight.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, we were just under 2 hours, 5 topics. I have to return to work tomorrow. For those of you who showed up tonight, I won't keep saying showed up tonight. This isn't a live stream. Yes, at some point. I mean, I'm tempted to either try the live stream on Odyssey or Rumble at some point to see if they work. If they do work, then I might actually have a second show that's going to be live streamed. But at this point, I'm done. We're like literally about 40 seconds under 2 hours here. I'm kind of glad that's a slow show that we're done early tonight. Plenty of stuff to talk about again next week. Anyway. So thank you very much.